Hey guys, nice to see you. I know that things are weird and different doing our talks like this, but we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're tuning in for what we have going on this semester. So we're going to be doing most things like this through a camera, recorded, and hopefully that you can take these talks and lessons that we give out to a restaurant or out to your dorm room, or that you can enjoy these with friends. It's our goal for all these. It's a little different, but this is what we have to deal with for now, and we're really glad that you guys are tuning in with us. So one thing that we're going to be doing this entire semester is we're going to be talking about stories, specifically one long story. And stories have been around for generations. There's in different books, movies, TV shows, podcasts even have stories that we enjoy to listen to or to read or to watch. Like everybody's got a favorite movie. Everybody's got a favorite book or favorite TV show for a lot of different reasons. There's plot twists that show up everywhere. There's unexpected reveals. There's character dynamics. There's character growth. And like think about books and novels and things like that. There's descriptive language that kind of pulls our imagination in. There's endless things that we love about a different story, right? So one story that is my personal favorite, Star Wars. And I know if you haven't seen Star Wars, you're like 50 years too late. So if there's any spoilers that go on here, I can't be apologetic because it was made in like the 70s. So you should know this by now, right? But I love Star Wars, and it's just this really long, spans 9 movies. And while I don't really like the last 3 as much, but it spans 9 movies, from like 1970 to last year. And essentially it follows this family line. It follows a kid from the first one named Anakin Skywalker, and it follows his entire family, him through a couple, his son's pupils, and it just continues to follow. There's tons of TV series about it. There's now books and graphic novels and things about this story, but it's long and it's drawn out. And I've always loved this story. I think several things I loved as a kid about it were they had laser guns. Every kid loves laser guns. They had laser swords, which was fantastic. They also had a huge planet that also shot a laser and blew up other planets. Tons of lasers, great action spectacle that I enjoyed as a kid. And I think looking back, the plot was also really good. The way that they were able to follow this family throughout 9 movies was something that's really interesting. It's something that I enjoyed and that drew in my imagination of space and unnecessary front flips. If you've seen the movie, they just do a bunch of front flips for no reason, and it makes no sense, but it's my favorite part about it. I even love these movies so much that when I was a kid, you guys might be able to relate to this whenever you have a story that you really enjoy. But when I was a kid, essentially I wanted to be a part of this Star Wars story. And so I'd go out into my dad's shed, and I would grab his golf clubs, and I would take these golf clubs and I would just swing them around at trees and the grass. And I'm sure he didn't enjoy that I was using his golf clubs as a lightsaber, but I would just run around and pretend like I was a Jedi in Star Wars. And I would go, a sister walks out unexpectedly at the wrong place, wrong time, and so 8-year-old me chases her down with the golf club. Don't recommend that, but there's something about wanting to be a part of that story. I really, really thought that, if I can go out and use my imagination and be into the narrative that they had going, I really, really wanted to be a part of and participate in this really cool story that I loved, that George Lucas wrote and spans 9 movies. And so I used my imagination and wanted to be a part of it. And while we love Star Wars and we love all of our favorite books and we love different stories that draw us in and attract us, they're all really just shadows of a greater story. All of the themes that we see in stories are themes that are in life. Development of people, unexpected plot twists that are everywhere, unexpected reveals, like stories and narratives are drawing on themes that we see in life. And what we also see is that life is kind of like a story in that way. there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns. And what we think about that is that if there was an author of all of these stories that we enjoy to read and watch and listen to sometimes in different ways, that there's also an author of our story, of this reality that we live in, an author of history. And we believe that to be the Bible. We believe that God is the author of that story. So like I said, this semester we're going to be talking about stories. We're going to be talking about God's story, his story that runs through the expanse of history and time and reality. And so we're going to read a little bit about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading from Matthew 1. I'm going to start from the beginning. Really, pages 1 and 2 of the Bible describe how God created everything. It says that he created out of nothingness the land and the sea and the heavens and the stars and the sun and the moon, the land and the animals that all lived on it, animals that swim and fly and crawl on the ground, all sorts of plants and vegetation and trees that bear fruit and vines. And there's just this awesome picture of everything that we could imagine God making. And he capped it all off, and he created humanity, created us, created man and woman in his image. And the question is, why did he do that? He didn't do it because he felt like he needed to. He didn't do it because he thought, oh, if I don't make humans, then, what am I going to do? He did it because he wanted to, because he's God, he is before all things, and he's the creator of all things. He did this because he wanted to. There's no way for any of us to twist his arm, So in creating us because he wanted to, what he wanted was a relationship. He wanted to share his love and his companionship with his creation. And so he created us as that pinnacle of something to share it with, to share his love with, and his partnership in this life that he has authored and written. And so what we see through a good chunk of the Bible in the Old Testament is God interacting with his people to draw them back into a relationship with himself. And really early on, one of the first big names we see is Abraham. God meets Abraham and he's unable to have kids. Him and his wife are too old, and so God comes to him and promises, hey, if you build this promised relationship with me, and you follow me and walk alongside me, then I will give you kids. I will give you a family. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the sea. And that's a lot. I don't know if you've ever just looked up at the stars and said, wow, that's a lot. But that's the promise that he made. And so we follow through the Old Testament this family that traces all the way through the Bible. And so we'll start in Matthew 1. This is a genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And just stop really, really fast. The genealogy is just essentially a family tree. It's a list of where people come from. It is literally translated as an account of origin. This is the line that people come through. This is their family. This is where they're descended from. So Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac the father of Jacob, Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, Judah the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar, Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab, Boaz the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of King David. And so just to clarify to start, there's going to be some, in this list that we're reading, there's going to be some complicated names. It's a different culture, different time. I want you to dial in and pay attention to what's happening here. Because what we just led up to is Jesse, the father of King David. So a little bit about David is he's a king who was once just the youngest son of this guy, Jesse. And God makes him king. He promises him to be king. He chooses him. And when he's king, he comes to David and he says, somebody from your line is going to be the Messiah, which means the chosen one, the person who's going to save everybody. It's a huge deal in their culture. And so David, coming from Abraham, continues that promise story. And we keep reading. David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. Solomon the father of Rehoboam. Rehoboam the father of Abijah. Abijah the father of Asa. Asa the father of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat the father of Jehoram. Jehoram the father of Uzziah. Uzziah the father of Jotham. Jotham the father of Ahaz. Ahaz the father of Hezekiah. Hezekiah the father of Manasseh. Manasseh the father of Amon. Amon the father of Josiah. And Josiah the father of Jehoniah and his brothers at the time of the exile to Babylon. So the exile to Babylon, again, in their story, the family line's still going. They're still trucking along. And then the nation of Babylon comes down, conquers them, takes them off to their country for 70 years. And you would think, naturally, that the story would end there, or that the line would end there. But what we see is they persevere in this, and that after those 70 years, out comes this nation, still descended from Abraham through David, all the way through, and then they come out on the other side of this exile, and the story keeps going. After the exile to Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel, Shealtiel the father of Zerubbabel, Zerubbabel the father of Abihud, Abihud the father of Eliakim, Eliakim the father of Azor, Azor the father of Zadok, Zadok the father of Akim, Akim the father of Elihud, Elihud the father of Eleazar, Eleazar the father of Mathan, Mathan the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, and Mary was the mother of Jesus, who is called the Messiah. Thus there were 14 generations in all, from Abraham to David, 14 from David to Babylon, and 14 from the exile to the Messiah, were the chosen one. And so what's really important to see about this is it's not just a random list of people. This is a particularly put together list that shows from the beginning, when God started this promise to pull his people into a relationship with himself, he continued the line. He continued it all the way down to Jesus, the person of Jesus. And it didn't break. The line didn't break even when they went into exile. This is still leading to the same conclusion. So what this shows us is that this is a story that began with God creating everything, including us, that leads to the person of Jesus. That is the point of the story that they're telling. And just Jesus showing up here is not the end of the story. The reality is that this is a story that we get to participate in, that we get to be a part of, because like I said, it doesn't stop there. And this is a reason why we love, like I said earlier, why we love to act and to participate and be a part of a story when we read a good book and watch a great movie. And we want to go be a part of it, and we go out in the backyard and we swing golf clubs, and we try to get in that mindset of being a part of this story. We're drawn into stories. Our imaginations are driven. We can't put a book down when we're really into that narrative, and we love it so much because it's something that we were created for. We were created for a story. We're created for life, which is a story written by God, rooted in history, rooted in reality. And when that's something that we're created for, it's something as a part of us that we can't live without. We always want to be a part of a story that's bigger than ourselves. And that's what this is able to show us. And so what does this mean? What does it mean to be a part of a story? There's a lot of different implications that we could have. But the first thing that it means is that God authored it. That he, being the creator of the story, just like George Lucas is the creator of Star Wars, he authored it with an intention in mind for the end. From the beginning to the end, it's his story that he wrote. And that's the same thing that we see here. It's God's beautifully designed story leading to culminating in Jesus that we get to be a part of. And we have a great role. Maybe not as the main character, but playing a key part in it. We get a chance to participate and enter into it in a way that he's given us a role to do. So I've got a couple questions for us before I pray and go. My first question is, what does it mean to author a story? Second question is, what makes a story a good story or a bad story? The third question is, how often do we put ourselves at the center of a story? And the fourth is, if we are a part of God's story, what does that mean for our lives and how we get to live them? think about those questions, talk about them amongst each other. I'm going to pray, and then I guess you can do whatever you want. God, I thank you for the opportunity and the time to come together and learn more about you and read your fantastic story. I pray that my friends can grow together in their understanding of you and how you want us to interact and have roles in this narrative that you wrote from the beginning of time. God, may we continue to grow in that and to see your story everywhere in our lives and be able to recognize your authorship and our role in it. And we love you and we praise you. Amen.
Amen.